This is Story Saloon, short stories centre stage. I'm Jane Messer. In this episode, we're going to hear Margo Lanagan's short story, Singing My Sister Down, read by Paul Capsis. Margo is one of Australia's most outstanding writers of short stories and novels for adults and young adults. Singing My Sister Down is one of her award-winning fantasy stories. For those amongst you who are unused to the genre, what you'll find is that you recognise the community and characters, but there are little details that make it clear that this is not historical fiction, but fantasy set in a world like ours, back in time somewhere. I'd like to give you one more heads up. The setting is a tar pit. The pits are real. They are where natural, hot bitumen rises from deep in the earth to form a sticky black pool or lake. And now to introduce Paul Capsis, who read Singing My Sister Down for Story Saloon. It's been such an honour to pair Paul with Margo's story and to work with him on it. Paul Capsis is one of Australia's most extraordinary and versatile performers, appearing in theatre, live concerts, cabaret, film and television, both here and internationally. It was a real pleasure to have Paul read this short story for Story Saloon.
Singing My Sister Down by Margo Lanagan. We all went down to the tar pit with mats to spread our weight. Icky was standing on the bank, her hands in a metal twin loop behind her. She stopped sulking. Now she looked more starey and puzzled. Chief Banandra pointed to the pit. "Out you go then, girl. You must walk out there in the middle and stand. When you pick a spot, your people can join you." So, Ick stepped out, very ordinary. She walked out. I thought, hoped even, she might walk right across and into the thorns the other side. At the same time, I knew she wouldn't do that. She walked the way you walk on the tar, except without the arms balancing. She nearly fell from a stumble once, but Mama hallooed to her, and she straightened and walked upright out to the very middle, where she slowed and stopped. Mama didn't look to the chief, but all us kids and the rest did. "Right then," he said. Mama didn't look at the chief, but Mama stepped out as if she'd just herself that moment happened to decide to. We went after her, only us. Ick's family, which was like us being punished too, everyone watching us walk out to that girl who was our shame. In the winter, you come to the pit to warm your feet in the tar. You stand long enough to sink as far as your ankles. The littler you are, the longer you can stand. You soak the heat in for as long as the tar doesn't close over your feet and grip. And it's as good as warmed boots wrapping your feet. But in summer, like this day, you keep away from the tar because it makes the air hotter and you mind about the stink. But today, we had to go out. And everyone had to see us go. Icky was tall, but she was thin and light from all the worry and prison. She was going to take a long time about sinking. We got our mats down, all the food parcels and ice baskets and instruments and such, spread out evenly on the broad planks Dash and Felly had carried out. "You start, Dash," said Mama. And Dash got up and put his drumette to his hip and began with Fork-Tail Trio. And it did feel a bit like a party. It stirred Icky awake from her hung-headed shame. She lifted up and even laughed. and I saw her hips move in the last chorus, side to side. Then Mama got out one of her ice baskets, which was already black on the bottom from meltwater. Icky gasped, "Ha! What? Crab? Where'd that come from?" "Never you mind, sweet thing." Mama lifted some meat to Icky's mouth and rubbed some of the crushed ice into her hair. "Oh, Mama," Ick said with her mouth full. "May as well have the best of this world while you're here," said Mama. She stood there and fed Icky like a baby, like a pet guinea bird. "I thought Auntie May would come," said Ick. "Auntie May, she's useless," said Dash. "She's sitting at home with her handkerchief." "I wouldn't have cared her crying," said Ick. "I would have thought she'd say goodbye to me." "Her heart's too hurt," said Mama. "You frightened her. And she's such a straight lady. She sees shame where some of us just see people. Here, inside the big claw. That's the sweetest meat. Oh, yes. Is anyone else feasting with me?" "No, darling. This is your day only." "Well, okay. I'll give some to this little sad eyes here, huh? Felly never had crab but once. Is it yum? Oh, it's yum. Look at him." Next, she called me to do my flute, the flashiest, hardest music I knew. And Ick listened. Ick listened. Ick, who usually screamed at me to stop pushing spikes into her brain. She watched my fingers on the flute holes and my sweating face and my straining, bowing body, and for the first time I didn't feel like just the nuisance brother. I played well, out of the surprise of her not minding. I couldn't have played better. I heard everyone else being surprised too at the end of those tunes that they must have known too well from all my practicing. I sat down, very hungry. Mama passed me the water cup and damp roll. "I'm stuck now," said Ick. And it was true. The tar had her by the feet, closed in a gleaming like that pair of zipper slippers I saw once in a shoemaster's vitrine. "Oh, yes, well and truly stuck," said Mama. "But then, you knew when you picked up that axe handle that you were sticking yourself." "I did know. No coming unstuck from that one. You could have let that handle lie." That was some serious teasing. "No, I couldn't, Mama, and you know." "I do, baby chicken. I always knew you'd be too angry once the wedding glitter rubbed off your skin. It was a good party, though, wasn't it?" And they laughed at each other, Mama having to steady Icky or her ankles would have snapped over. And when their laughter started going strange, Mama said, "Well, this party's going to be almost as good, because it's got children. And look what else." And she reached for the next ice basket. And so the whole day went in treats and songs, in ice and stink and joke stories and gossip and party pieces. On the banks, people came and went, and the chief sat in his chair and was fanned and fed, and the family of Icky's husband sat around the chief, being served too, all in purple cloth with flashing edging and very prideful. She went down slowly. "Isn't it hot?" Felly asked her. It's like a big warm hug up my legs," said Ick. "Come here and give me a hug. little stick arms and let me check. Woof, yes, it's just like that, only lower down. You're coming down to me, said Fell, pleased. Yeah, soon I'll be able to bite your ankles like you bite mine. Around mid-afternoon, Icky she couldn't move her arms anymore and had a panic, just quiet, not so the bank people would have noticed. What am I going to do, Mama? She said. When it comes up over my face, when it closes my nose. Don't you worry. You won't be awake for that, said Mama. And Mama cooled her hands in the ice, dried them on her dress and rubbed them over Ick's shoulders, down Ick's arms to where the tar had locked her wrists. You better not give me any teas or herbs or anything, said Ick. They'll get you too if you help me. They'll come out to make sure. Mama put her hands over Felly's ears. Tristram gave me a gun, she whispered. Icky's eyes went wide. But you can't. Everyone'll hear. It's got a thing on it, quietens it. I can slip it in the tar wrinkle, get you in the head when your head is part sunk. Fold back the wrinkle, tell 'em your heart stopped and the tar pressed it stopped. Felly shook his head free. Icky was looking at Mama, quietening. There was only the sound of Dash tearing bread with his teeth and the breeze whistling in the thorn galls away over the shore. I was watching Mama and Icky closely. I'd wondered about the last part too. But now this girl up to her waist in the pit didn't even look like our Icky. Her face was changing like a cloud or like a masked lizard's colours. You don't see them move, but they become something else. Then something else again. No, she said, still looking at Mama. You won't do that. You won't have to. Her face had a smile on it that touched off on one of Mama's too. So they were both quiet, smiling at each other, smiling in each other, something in each other that I couldn't see. And then their eyes ran over and they were crying and smiling. And then Mama was kneeling on the wood, her arms around Icky. And Icky was ugly against her shoulder, crying in a way that we couldn't interrupt them. That was when I realized how many people were watching. When they set up a big, spooky oodle-oodling and stamping on the banks to see Mama grieve. Pho, I said to Dash, to stop the hair creeping around my head from that noise. There never was such a crowd when Chet's daddy went down. Ah, but he was old and crazy, said Dash through a mouthful of bread. And only killed other olds and crazies. Are those fish people? And look at the yellow cloths. They're from up among the caves, all that way. Well, it's nearly Langer's Day too, said Dash. Lots of people on the move, just happening by. Maybe. Is that an honour or a greater shame? Dash shrugged. This whole thing is upended. Who would have a party in the tar and with family going down? It's what Mama wanted. Better than having her and Ick like this all day. Dash's hands slipped into the nearest ice basket and brought out a crumb of gilded macaroon. He ate it as if he had a perfect right. Everything went slippery in my mind after that. We were being watched so hard. Even though it was quiet out here, the pothering wind brought crowd mumble and scraps of music and smoke our way, so often that we couldn't be private and ourselves. Besides, there was Icky with the sun on her face, but the rest of her from the rib peaks down, gloved in tar, never to see the sun again. Time seemed to just have gone in big clumps. Or all the day was happening at once or something. I was wondering so hard about what was to come. I was watching so hard the differences from our normal days. I wished I'd had more time to think before she went right down. My mind was going breathless, trying to get all its thinking done. But evening came and Ick was head and shoulders singing along with us in the lamplight, all the old songs, A Flower for You, Hen and Chicken Bay, Walking the Tracks with Benjamin Singh, Dollar Berries. She sang all Felly's little kids' songs that normally she'd sneer at. She got Dash to teach her this new one, The Careless Wanderer, with the tricky chorus. She made us work on that one like she was trying to stop us noticing the monster bonfires around the shore. The other singing of fishing songs and forest songs, the stomp and clatter of dancing in the gathering darkness. But they were there, however well we sang. No other singing in our lives had all this going on behind it. When the tar began to tip Ick's chin up, Mama sent me for the wreath. May will have brought it, over by the chief's chair. I got up and started across the tar, and it was as if I cast magic ahead of me, silence magic making. For as I walked, and it was good to be walking, not sitting, music petered out and laughter stopped and dancers stood still and there were eyes at me all along the dark banks, strange and familiar both. The wreath showed up in the crowd ahead, a big pale ring trailing spirals of whisper vine, the beautifulest thing. I climbed up the low bank there, and the ground felt hard and cold after a day on the squishy tar. My ankle shivered as I took the wreath from May. It was heavy. It was fat with heavenly scents. "You'll have to carry those," I said to May, as someone handed her the other garlands. "You should come out anyway. Ick wants you there." She shook her head. "She's cloven my heart in two with that axe of hers." "What? So you'll chop hers as well this last hour?" We glared at each other in the bonfire light, all loaded down with the fine pale flowers. "I never heard this boy speak with a voice before, May," said someone behind her. "He's very sure," said someone else. "This is Icky's last things we're talking about, May. If she wants you to be one of them, she shouldn't have shamed us then," May said, but weakly. "You're going to look back on this and think yourself a po-face," said the first someone. "But it's like," May sagged and clicked her tongue. She should have cared what she did to this family," she said with her last fight. "It's more than just herself." "Take the flowers, May. Don't make the boy do this twice over. Time is short." "Yeah, everybody's time is short," said the first someone. May stood, pulling her mouth to one side. I turned and propped the top of the wreath on my forehead so that I was like a little boy bride, trailing a head of flowers down my back to the ground. I set off over the tar leaving the magic silence in the crowd. There was only the rub and squeak of flower stalks in my ears. In my eyes, instead of the flourishes of bonfires, there was only the lamps in a ring around Mama, Felly, Dash, and Icky's head. Mama was kneeling, Bonty up on the wood, talking to Icky. In the same time it had taken me to get the wreath, Icky's head had been locked still. "Oh, the baby," May whimpered behind me. "The little darling." "Bit late for darlinging now," I almost said. I felt cross and frightened and too grown up for May's silliness. "Here, Ick, we'll make you beautiful now," said Mama, laying the wreath around Ick's head. "We'll come out here to these flowers when you're gone and know you're here." "They'll die pretty quick. I've seen it." Ick's voice was getting squashed, coming out through closed jaws. "The heat wilts them." "They'll always look beautiful to you," said Mama. "You'll carry down this beautiful wreath and your family singing." I trailed the vines out from the wreath like flares from the edge of the sun. "Is that May?" said Ick. May looked up, startled from laying the garlands between the vines. "Show me the extras, May." May helped. May held up a garland. "Aren't they good? Trumpets from Low Swamp, Auntie Patty's whisper vine and starweed to bind. You never thought ordinary old stars could look so good, I'll bet." "I never did." It was all set out right now. It went in the order: head, half ring of lamps behind so as not to glare in her eyes, wreath, half ring of garlands behind, leaving space in front of her for us. "Okay, we're going to sing you down now," said Mama. "Everybody get in and say a proper goodbye." And she knelt inside the wreath a moment herself, murmuring something in Icky's ear, and kissed her on the forehead. We kids all went one by one. Felly got clingy and made Icky cry. Dash dashed in and planted a quick kiss while she was still upset and would hardly have noticed him. Mama gave me a cloth and I crouched down and wiped Icky's eyes and nose, and then could not speak to her bare blinking face. "You're getting good at the flute," she said. "But this isn't about me, Ick. This is not at all about me. Will you come out here sometime and play over me when no one else is around?" I nodded. Then I had to say some words of some kind. I knew I wouldn't get away without speaking. "If you want." "I want, okay. Now give me a kiss." I gave her a kid's kiss on the mouth. Last time I kissed her, it was carefully on the cheek as she was leaving for her wedding. Some of her glitter had come off on my lips. Now I patted her hair and backed away over the wreath. May came in last. "Fairy doll," I heard her say sobbingly. "Only one." And Dick, "It's all right, Auntie. It'll be over soon. You'll see. And I want to hear your voice nice and strong in the singing." We read it ourselves, Felly in Mama's lap, then Dash, then me next to May. I tried to stay attentive to Mama so May wouldn't mess me up with her weeping. It was quiet except for the distant flubber and snap of the bonfires. We started up. All the ordinary evening songs for putting babies to sleep, for farewelling, for soothing broke-hearted people. All the ones everyone knew so well that they long ago made rude versions and joke songs of them. We sang them plain, following Mama's lead. We sang them straight into Icky's glistening eyes as the tar climbed her chin. We stood tall so as to see her and she us. As her face became the sunken centre of that giant flower, the wreath. Dash's little drum held us together and kept us singing as Ick's eyes rolled and she struggled for breath against the pressing tar. As the chief and the husband's family came and stood across from us, shifting from foot to foot with torches raised to watch her sink away. May began to crumble and falter beside me as the tar closed in on Ick's face, a slow, sticky, rolling oval. I sang good and strong. I didn't want to hear any last whimper, any stopped breath. I took May's arm and tried to hold her together that way, but she only swayed worse and wept louder. I listened for Mama under the noise, pressed my eyes shut and made my voice follow hers. By that time I'd steadied myself that way. Ick's eyes were closed. Ick's eyes were closing. Through our singing, I thought I heard her cry for Mama. I tried not to, yet my ears went on hearing. This will happen only the once. You can't do it over again if ever you feel like remembering. And Mama went to her, and I could not tell whether Ick was crying and babbling or whether it was a trick of our voices or whether the people on the banks of the tar had started up again. I watched Mama because Mama knew what to do. She knew to lie there on the matting and dip her cloth in the last water with the little fading fish scales of ice in it and squeeze the cloth out and cool the shrinking face in the hole. And the voice of Vic must have been ours or other voices because the whole Mama was dampening with her cloth was, by her hand movements, only the size of a brass boy now. And by a certain shake of her shoulders I could tell. Mama knew it was all right to be weeping now that Icky was surely gone. It was just a nose or a mouth with the breath crushed out of it. Just an eye seeing nothing. And very suddenly it was all too much. The flowers nodding in the lamplight. Our own sister hanging in the tar, going slowly, slowly down like Vanderberg's truck that time, like Japanese cabin with the old man still inside, or any old villain or scofflaw or of around these parts. And I had a big sickening up of tears. And they tell me I made an awful noise that frightened everybody right up to the chief. And that the husband's parents thought I was very ill brought up. I was a very ill brought up boy for upsetting them instead of allowing them the serenity and superiorly watching justice be done for their lost son. I don't remember a lot about that part. I came back to myself walking dully across the tar between May and Mama, hand in hand, carrying nothing. When I'd come out here laden, we had to all help. We must have eaten everything, I thought. But what about the mats and pans and planks? Then I hear a squeaking, clanking behind me, which was Dash hoisting up, too heavy, a load of pots. And Mama was talking wearily as she'd been going on a long time and soothingly, which was like a beautiful guide rope out of my sickness, which my brain was following hand over hand. It's what they do to people, what they have to do. And all you can do about it is watch out who you go loving, right? Make sure it's not someone who'll rouse that killing anger in you. If you've got that rage, if you're like our Ick. Then the bank came up high in front of us, topped with grass that was white in Mama's lamplight. Beyond it were all the eyes, and attached to the eyes, the bodies, flat and black against bonfire or starry sky. They shuffled aside for us. I knew we had to leave Ick behind. And I didn't make a fuss, not now. I'd done my fussing. All at once I'd blown myself to bits out on the tar, and now several monstrous things, several gaping mouths of truth were rattling pieces of me around their teeth. I would be all right if May stayed quiet, if Mama kept murmuring, if both their hands held me as we passed through this forest of people, these flitting firefly eyes. They got me up the bank, Mama and Auntie. I paused, and they stumped up and then lifted me, and I walked up the impossible slope like a demon, horizontal for a moment and then swiftly over the top, and into my Mama, whose arms were ready. She couldn't have carried me out on the tar. We'd both have sunk, with me grown so big now. But here on the hard ground, she took me up, too big as I was for it. And too big as I was, I held myself onto her, crossing my feet around her back, my arms around her neck. And she carried me like Japanese wife used to carry Japanese idiot son. And I felt just like that boy, as if the thoughts that were all right for everyone else weren't coming now and never would come to me. As if all I could do was watch, but not even know anything, not ever understand. I pushed my face into Mama's warm neck. I sealed my eyes shut against her skin. I let her strong, warm arms carry me away in the dark.
The live readings for Story Saloon at the Vanguard were recorded by Martin Gallagher. Your host has been Jane Messer. A big thanks to the whole Story Saloon team.